right, everybody. Hello and welcome. Super pumped to be here today. You're listening to Honest to God on AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. We got a good crew. Aaron, you're the only returning guest. You've only done one show before. Mm-hmm. Long time ago. You're wearing the exact same clothes though, which is weird, but yeah, it's all good, man.
One outfit.
And we have your lovely fiance Sadie, and then we've got Sierra and Peter in studio today too. As always, producer Ben.
I'm here.
Tickling keys.
Oh yeah,
man, looks fun. You're killing it over there with brand new headphones, by the way.
Oh yeah, these things are really nice.
Look great. It looks like you're in it's an ad for what are they? This episode of Honest to God is brought to you by.
I can't even remember. Is it? What's the brand on them?
Beats by Ben. Beats by producer Ben brings you this episode of Honest to God. We're really excited. Episode number 1267 today.
You got it.
Big day.
Run
big
money.
Number. Important number. And as always, to my right, drifting, floating into that which both is and isn't, that which spits in the face of everything that is true. It's producer Ben, or should it's Benny. He might be there. He might not be. We're not sure. But there's something to my right, and there will be show notes at the end of the show. All right, so that was a long way to get to today's episode, which is, I don't know exactly, marriage and engagement and stuff. Sure. Should be great. I'm excited. Ben's going to come up with a catchy title. It's going to be wonderful. But before we start, would any of you guys like to volunteer to lead us in prayer? I was going to say, if nobody does, then Sierra's got good I can pray face.
If Sierra's going to do it, then I'll do it.
All right, cool. You got it, Peter.
All right, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Lord, come to us today where we can speak your word and, live for you through this podcast and guide us to say the things that glorify you best. Amen.
Amen. In the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Short and sweet. Good job, Peter. I like that. All right, guys. So everybody's new except for Aaron. Aaron, you just owe us one fun fact.
Okay.
And then Sadie and Sierra and Peter, you owe us 5. So give us 5 fun facts. We'll start with Aaron, and you guys can start coming up with what you're going to tell us. Even if you run out of they can just be facts, and they don't even have to be geared towards you if you run out. But this is your first time. You should be able to come up with 5. Whenever you're ready, Aaron.
All right. My fun fact is I am actually wearing the famous camo Crocs that I was wearing when I first walked up to my beautiful fiance.
Wait, first time ever? Like you first met her?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And you remember the shoes you were wearing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, we're going to hear this. So save the story because I want to hear the whole story here in a little bit. But
Sure.
That is awesome. And I can confirm, those you guys can't see, but he is wearing camo Crocs and they look old.
Wearing
They
the
are.
heck out of them.
They look broken in.
They're weathered.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Idiocracy?
Yes, I watched that not too long
So
ago.
do you know that everybody in Idiocracy wears Crocs? Did you notice that? But do you know the story behind that?
Mm-mm.
Crocs were not a thing. It was like an upstart company, and the costuming guy on a very low budget had to find shoes that looked dumb, but he thought people in this weird future would wear, and Crocs were the one that he came up with, and so they bought a bunch of Crocs, and that was way before Crocs blew up.
Maybe it was a prophecy.
Yeah. No, they are incredibly comfortable shoes.
They are.
All right, Sadie, what you got? 5.
So I'm a Canadian-U.S. dual citizen.
Cool.
I've been here for 3 years. Moved to Atlanta in January. I'm one of 8 kids. Will have 16 grandchildren, or nephews and nieces.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Not grandchildren. There's 16 grandchildren.
You might have 16 grandchildren one day. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I have a marketing degree from Franciscan University.
No way. I went to Franciscan University.
It's a great school.
Yeah.
That's where we met.
Cool.
And I work at a pregnancy aid clinic.
Nice.
Here in
Really?
Georgia.
The one in Roswell?
I do, yeah.
So my wife and I went there with this baby because we'd had some complications and some miscarriages, and it was one of those we needed an ultrasound right away because we were worried because a lot of the miscarriages happened really early. And we went in, and a lot of people go there because they're considering abortion or something like that. And so it was like we sat down in the waiting room, and the people were being super sweet and everything and talking to us, and then they said, "Is this your first baby?" We said, "Oh, no, this is our 5th. We're super excited. We're just here to make sure that she's okay. And this was the only place they could take us under such short notice." Mm-hmm. And we had the best conversation. So big shout out to the PAC clinic in Roswell. There's a couple more, right? There's some downtown.
There's 2 more. There's one in Forest Park and one in Atlanta.
Okay, that's awesome. Great. They do good work over there. Sierra, how about you?
I always feel like the most boring person when I have to come up with fun facts.
That's one fun fact. You're already 20% of the way there.
I love it. I graduated from the University of Georgia.
Cool.
Go Dogs. And we have a golden doodle named McGregor.
McGregor after the MMA.
Yeah, we adopted him, and they said his name was Mac, and then we got all of like the paperwork, and it said McGregor. And
which happens to be my favorite.
Peter's favorite.
Okay.
That'll be Peter's fact.
But I would say that a golden doodle is probably the exact opposite of the dog type I would envision Conor McGregor being, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Exactly.
I've got a dog named Jeff.
I love it. What else? I used to be on a swim team throughout high school and middle school. My brother and sister have been on this.
Were you at RCA too?
Yeah. I was at RCA.
Cool.
Yeah. And then my brother and sister have been on this a few times.
Yeah.
So that's
Big shout out to Mackenzie and Cameron.
Mackenzie and Cam. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm Peter, and I went to the University of Georgia, and I got a degree in sports management. So that's one. My fun facts are really just facts, I guess you'd say. I'm an Eagle Scout. I run a golf league.
Okay.
And that I created about 6 months ago.
So that Saudi Arabian one that's causing all
no. It's more small scale.
Because that'd be cool.
Yeah, cool. But no, it's small scale out of Athens. And what else I got? I am 8 handicap in golf. It's not that good, but it's better than average.
Cool.
And I'm one of 9. Oh, I'm a convert. I was Presbyterian.
Well, you're one of 9.
I am one of 9.
And you're Presbyterian?
From a Protestant family, yeah.
No, that's just us and the Mormons, dude. You're not allowed to do that.
So,
my kid's baseball coach last year was this like Southern Baptist, salt of the earth, awesome guy, and he had 12 kids. Yeah. And but he just announced that he had 12 kids just casually while talking, like doing the big. My son was 10 years old playing baseball, just sort of that get to know you thing. And I walk up to him because I'm rude and lack any tact, and I said, "You have 12 kids? Are you Catholic?" And he said, "Nope." I said, "Are you Mormon?" And he said, "No." He said he was Baptist, and then he said, "It turns out the Catholics are right about that one." And because I have no tact, I said, "What's funny though is that we're also right about all the other stuff." So that's neat. Yeah, but he was a super cool guy. I loved him. So that's neat. 9 kids, Presbyterian. All right, I dig it. So today, I think we said this in the beginning, but Peter and Sierra, you guys are married. Can I say on the radio that you're expecting?
Yes.
And you're expecting.
Yeah.
Good. I just did.
Announced it.
Yeah, you were married in March.
Yes.
And then you've got a baby girl or boy coming in January, which is super exciting. Yeah. And then you guys are engaged, right? And what's the wedding date?
April 13th next year.
Where are you getting married? Do you know?
Yeah, St. Catherine's.
St. Catherine's. Okay,
yeah.
cool. Awesome.
Shout out to Father Neil. Yep.
Dude, big fan of Father Neil.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
I teach all of his nieces and all of his nephews.
Wow.
He has 2 brothers. They both are at my school. And they're great kids. The W. Wallace are wonderful family. All in. Oh, sorry. No last names. Father Neil. Everybody knows Father Neil. Come on. Okay. And just so we had that context. We've done a couple episodes that got into some dating stuff, but I really, I think it's worth hearing. I think people really enjoy it. I would love to hear sort of y'all's stories about how you met each other and what that looks like, because, I mean, or even if we use the word dating, like dating versus courting, there's so much that goes into this that I think is really interesting and intriguing. And I talk to and work with a lot of college-aged and young adult people who, the horror stories I hear about dating now compared to even 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, I've been married to my wife for, how long have I been married?
A number of years.
12. I just had my 12th anniversary last April. Yes. April 30th. So, but the things that I hear now are so alien. So I would love to dig into that. Who wants to kick us off? I'd love to hear just here's how we met story. Aaron, all day, I can tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, I'm wearing the Crocs.
Yeah,
so we had a Spanish class together at Franciscan University, and we kind of sat near each other. Didn't really talk, but I remember seeing her when she walked in. I was like, wow, that's a sight to behold right there.
Did you say it in Spanish?
I said muy bien, because that's about the extent of my knowledge. So, so we just had class for a few weeks. We didn't really talk much. And then I saw her in the gym, and I was like, that's the girl from Spanish class. And I didn't say anything again because, we're working out,
The gym by the racquetball courts?
Yes.
That's the good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you play? Sorry, I played racquetball every single day when I was at Franciscan. I love those racquetball courts. All right, keep going.
Awesome. Yeah. So then one day, it just, we can cut this part out. This part's.
Well, I'll just say, like.
Sure, yeah.
So every day after that class, I would always go down to the JC, which is like a little bit of a walk. And that one specific day, I was like, I'm just going to sit on this random bench outside of Cosmos and Damien building.
Right.
And so I sit down, and then I look up, and there are Crocs approaching me.
Whoa, the same
These
Crocs
ones.
that are here right now.
He was so very confident in those Crocs. You just you couldn't ignore it.
Crocs do that to a guy. They just make you exude confidence and just rugged virility. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so he was very sweet, and slyly got my phone number, and I think we did like a.
Well, no, you skipped over the best part. He just walks up and he's like, "Give me your phone number." Come on, it was cooler than that.
Oh yeah, it was.
I can't remember
let me tell you what.
the conversation.
Well,
though.
here, first and foremost, I walked up, did a backflip. I was like, "Look what I can do." She was
In the
smitten.
Crocs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 4-wheel drive. But no, I walked up to her, and we just started talking. It was a natural conversation.
You never
like,
talked
hey.
before?
No.
It's like,
No.
sup, girl?
Yeah.
Me and my Crocs.
Yeah.
Think you're interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you say? Check yes or no. Thanks, George Strait. But yeah, I just started talking. I was like, hey, what's your name? And there was a water balloon fight, I believe. I think this was
the next day or something.
Yeah, it was happening the next day, and I was like, this might be a cool thing for us to do. And so I was like, hey, my buddies and I are going to a water balloon fight. How about you join our team?
Cool.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Yeah, right.
I love it.
So I got her number.
I was the only girl on that team.
She was.
Yeah.
She was.
How'd you do? Did y'all win
We
the water
did
balloon fight?
great. We lost, but
Okay.
hey,
Right. It's all right.
great. She did phenomenally, of course.
Yeah, it was a bit of a show off. I was the last one on the team standing, and then I finished off the other team.
Nice.
Yeah, it was humbling. Yeah. But so then I had her number, and I texted her. I think I just kept talking to you, in Spanish class after that, after the, the door had been opened, and I invited her I asked her out on a date to the Duquesne.
No. That's not what happened.
Okay, do tell.
It was like a couple days after the water balloon fight, we went over to the Overlook, and we talked for like 4 hours.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
While the sun was setting, and we just kept talking. It was so natural. But in that conversation, you were flat out like, I'm just telling you now, I don't want to date.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
I said, well...
Wait, why did you approach her in your Crocs and get her phone number then?
Exactly.
Because I'm a man with 2 wolves inside of me.
Got you.
One that
Okay.
wants to date and one that doesn't.
Got you. Okay.
So I just said, well, hey, look, I do want to date, so I'm going to leave
Did you
that.
really?
I did. I said, I want to date. I'm going to leave it where it is. We can stay friends. And then I think it was like 4 days later, he was like, I changed my mind.
The other wolf.
I had discerned. Yeah.
I discerned. Right.
So yeah, I asked her
So
out.
then we went on a
Went
date.
to the Duquesne Incline in Pittsburgh. Got yelled at by a dude for not wearing our masks.
Oh, fun. Oh, yeah. So
yeah.
when was this? What year was this?
This was
This was September of 2020. This was
wow.
during
Right.
COVID.
Okay.
This is when we both transferred in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we went to the top, overlooked the beautiful city, and shared a kiss.
Ooh,
If I must say,
Oh,
yeah,
my.
very spicy. Yes.
It is spicy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's
And-
fantastic. Okay. And so then and you dated for how long before you got engaged?
So we started in October 4th was actually the official date.
2020.
2020, yes.
Yeah, we dated for 3 months. We broke up.
We broke up.
Nice.
Then we got back together 2, 3,
Months.
4 months later.
Yeah, basically a whole semester went by when we were broken up, but in the same class. So that was really weird.
Oh, you're still in Spanish class together?
No, we had math
it was
class
math
together.
class
this
together.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we dated for a while. Then the next semester, it was 2 semesters after that, I believe, we broke up, dealing with some. I wasn't ready to date, and I didn't know how to deal with it, so I had to just cut things off to figure out.
What does that mean you weren't ready to date?
No,
I don't know.
I equate it to when you're dating in the secular world
Yes,
and you
that's what
don't
I
know
wanted
how
to-
to date Christian, and then you reconvert to your faith and
Sure.
you're trying to
Yeah.
date Christian, you don't understand how that quite works yet. So you're trying to figure that out. And so we were just trying to...
We're both reconverts.
Okay. Yeah, so it was just trying to figure out, like, how do we best love each other? How do you...
Well, what's the distinction?
Between what?
Between the secular version and the Christian version.
I think being selfish and not being selfish.
Yeah, just trying to really serve one another rather than oneself.
Yeah.
And really just... For me, it was trying to root out the selfishness and the and I'm still working on that. That's going to take a lifetime, but just be the type of man to be ready to enter into a relationship where marriage is a serious reality. Mm-hmm. And so I just need to take that time, pray, figure things out, and
that acknowledgement that with all relationships, your only options are marriage or heartbreak, right? And the fact that I remember when dating my wife, and it's very similar, right? Very secular background, whatever, had this conversion, reversion, whatever you want to call it, and then trying to do things the right way, but not having any idea how to do it because of the habits and mindsets that are just sort of like those barnacles of just secular modernity, emptiness, nothingness, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of ruining everything, and then having to like rediscover things that are the most basic stuff that like my 4-year-old understands, right? About like what love is, and I don't know. So no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I want to get into the engagement piece in a minute, but first I want to ask you guys the exact same question about like what's that story look like? Because it's at University of Georgia, and you're a convert, so I bet there's a good story behind it.
Yeah, it's in that story. I six fact, I cannot tell stories. I will go on tangents and rabbit holes. I'm terrible at staying on track. Maybe it's like ADHD.
Can Sierra tell stories?
And that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna hand it off to her. I'm really good at cutting her off and.
Great, perfect.
So the story actually starts at the University of North Georgia. Mm-hmm. So we both started out there. We transferred to UGA right before our junior year.
Okay.
So we met freshman year of college in Dahlonega. And we were just friends. I mean, hardly friends. Even we knew of each other.
I barely knew you.
Yeah.
I don't remember. The thing is, I don't remember her. That's kind of like that.
Casanova.
You remember me. He had a girlfriend at the time, and so we had a mutual friend. He had a class with one of my roommates.
Okay.
She liked me.
That roommate.
Wait, she did, or the
roommate claims.
I got a feeling that she likes you too.
And I thought he was cute, but then I did see. I was like, oh, he has a girlfriend, so forget that. And then he and his girlfriend. So we went through all of freshman year, basically. Just would see each other around because we knew who each other were. We'd just say hi. And then summer started, and I was taking summer classes, and I posted.
I got cheated on.
Oh.
I got there was a severance with my ex-girlfriend. Yeah.
Right.
So that relationship ended.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just want to go through the levels that you did because it was kind of rough. You started. I got cheated on. I got broken up with. There was a severance.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Good.
Yeah. So at the end of freshman year, he and his ex-girlfriend, they broke up.
There's a severance.
Yes. And so then I had posted something on Instagram about taking summer classes, and Peter slid into my DMs.
Okay. Yeah.
And
sly.
It
was one of those things where I'd kind of like stalked her for a few days.
Sure.
I was like, if she posts again, I am going to say something. I got to.
Right. But it'd be weird if you said something to something that was older, because then it looks like you're stalking.
Then you know.
Got
Exactly.
you. Okay, that's smart. I get it.
Yeah. So he had very smoothly said, "Are you taking summer classes?" After I posted about obviously taking summer classes, and he didn't even give me a chance to respond to that, and he sent a second one, said, "Oh wait, yeah, obviously you are taking summer classes. That was stupid." And so I was just assuming like, oh my goodness, this guy who my friend had a class with, he must be taking summer classes too.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, are you taking summer classes? Had no clue what he was thinking, and then we started talking back and forth. And then we started FaceTime. So this was over the summer, and he lived in Athens, which was like 2 hours away from where I lived.
And Peter, are you a Presbyterian right now in this story?
I had recently, ever since I went to college, all my friends growing up are all Protestant, so I was pulled away from Presbyterianism. I'm sure you know how the PCUSA is kind of leaning towards,
Sure.
and I kind of started being like, I can't rock with this, and then kind of in this, area of not knowing exactly what I believed in, because Protestantism needed so many different groups and so many different denominations.
Sure.
That so I was not Presbyterian. I kind of was like, I'm gonna stop going to Presbyterian church, and so that's pretty the short answer.
But there was no interest in Catholicism at this point. You're just kind of
no. I would probably say I was the complete opposite.
Okay.
I was the going to hell kind of person.
Fundamentalist sort of.
Yeah, sure.
I kind of dig those. I mean, if you're gonna like the fundamentalist intense
all in
ones
or all out kind of guy.
You give me a Black Baptist church in South Georgia. I went to some of those as a kid. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to derail the story.
No.
He had just slid into your DMs. Now the summer classes.
Yes, and so then we started talking, and it slowly formed into we were FaceTiming and talking on the phone every night. And then
that's cool though that you were actually talking on the phone. You weren't just texting constantly.
Exactly, which that was really nice because
we both worked during the day.
We did both work because I was teaching swim lessons all during the day, and then he was working in plumbing, and so let me think. Then we planned for our first date, and he drove down to see me, which I thought was really sweet because I had never had a boyfriend before. I had gone on dates with guys in college and nothing. I wasn't there. The last guy who I had talked to, he was
wearing Crocs.
Yeah, exactly. He had just ended things, which you can't really end things if you're just going out on dates. So we had gone on a couple dates, and he was like, "You just live kind of far." And he lived closer to me than Peter did, and I thought it was so sweet that Peter was like, let's go on a date and I'm gonna drive to you.
Right.
I'm gonna come down to you. So I thought that was the sweetest thing. So we ended up going to dinner and a movie.
Saw Aladdin.
What movie?
Aladdin.
The new Aladdin?
Live action.
The live
Cool.
action. It was a good one.
It's pretty solid. It is one of the better live action Disney.
Yes, I agree.
It's probably the most recent not woke Disney movie, honestly.
Yep. And then we started going out on dates all summer, and between Athens and where I'm from, and then so this was beginning of sophomore year now, I studied abroad, and so I had this planned out for a while, and we had officially been dating for a month at this point, and I was going to be gone for 4 months. And so I remember telling my mom, this will either make us or break us. I don't know. We'll see if I make it through this. And then we did make it through. We would talk on the phone, and we'd set up little dates where we'd buy food and cook food together when we were.
And what were your? I keep coming back to this because I think it's worth digging into. I assume that you were Catholic at this time and serious about it, right? And he was not, but you were Christian and you were cared about that. When did you start having those conversations? Right?
In the summer.
In the summer when we had first started talking and then dating, we had talked about that because it was something that was important to me. For some reason, I was in a place where I was I'm fine with not dating a guy who's Catholic. I think I had gotten kind of discouraged by the Catholic guys who I had met in college.
Sure.
And
why was that? Were they just not actually Catholic guys, or were they just?
There's the two different spectrums where it's they're not actually Catholic, or they're maybe the vibe.
No, I'm not making you say it. I know exactly what you're saying. What do you mean?
Sure. I mean,
what do you mean, Sierra?
Not even that was the majority of them just weren't cute, I guess you'd say.
Maybe
none of them were as
my
good looking
type.
as Peter. No, what you're and tell me if I'm taking this out of context, but I think what you're saying is they were either Catholic culturally without actually being invested, or they were taking some weird extremist, super judgmentally form of Catholicism, and there is that strain, right, that exists, and I've ranted about it a few times. I think it's super off-putting, the Catholic gatekeeping that we tend to do. And I say that as somebody who considers myself pretty right of right traditionalist in regards to most things. the big mantra that I throw out all the time is that I remember a point, I think it has to do with maturity a lot, where I realized, liturgical preference doesn't equal orthodoxy, right? It doesn't mean that you're a terrible person because you don't prefer to worship the way that I do. It can still be correct, even if it's not really my thing, and that's okay.
Exactly.
So, sorry, I just wanted to, I think
that's exactly
that was worth saying out loud because it is super off-putting, I think.
Yes, it can be. And so there were some very sweet guys that were like, at the Catholic Center there, but I just didn't really vibe with that group. Yeah. And so I was like in this like mindset where I was just like, I don't really care if he's Catholic or not, as long as he respects that I'm Catholic and respects my boundaries and everything. And so then
I think the answer to the question would be, my soapbox is that, so I started talking to her about all the different things that she believed in, and from the get-go she kind of was like, this is what I believe, and this is what's gonna happen if we date, like no sex till marriage. And I was like, yeah, I can wait. And then with that Protestant mindset, I was like, eventually when we get a little more connected before marriage, maybe
and that's then, a secular mindset,
or secular, exactly, you're right. And then she's like, no, like not at all. And I was like, oh yeah, that's admirable. I was like, I can.
And how early were we having these conversations?
Like, we had had that before we dated.
Great.
Before we had officially
That's the
dated.
Right answer.
It's just so nice to get out of the way.
Yes.
And
let's not waste our time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, I remember being so nervous, but then just something telling me, obviously the Holy Spirit being like, just tell him how you feel and be blunt about it. And I'm not a blunt person. Like, I will sugarcoat everything. But for some reason, I was just like, this is what I believe. I even went into like contraception and everything about that.
Yeah, that's great.
And I remember sitting in my parents' driveway, and you were about to leave, and I remember just telling you all this stuff, and you were just like, okay, yeah. And I was like, oh, he took that really well. All right. Like,
did you actually take it well, or was it just there was a pretty girl that you liked who was saying it to you?
I'd say both. Okay. I definitely didn't leave that conversation thinking, I'm about to like dip. I'm not going to do this. It was the opposite. I think that, and then the more I hung out with her family, and I don't know if y'all have met Dan and Chris, but they are great Catholics, and they're just
are those your parents?
My parents.
Oh yeah. They it's just they're the type of people that you want to get some people into Catholicism, show them like they're great people,
right?
And so it was really good to watch, especially when I was in that kind of what's that word? I don't know the word. Mysticosis is not the right word, but just the area where I just didn't know what I was believing in, and then seeing them be great leaders, and then how they raised Sierra, and then Sierra being the same, it was super like attractive to want to become Catholic.
Peter, somehow your parents had 9 children, even though they were Presbyterian. I know, I'm sorry, that's just it's crazy to me. And now you're dating this girl who's talking. You're sitting in their driveway while she's just discussing all the church's moral teachings on everything, which is great starter conversation. And I mean that like actually, like those are the kinds of things you need to say early in a relationship, I think. And just, I don't know, where'd you go from there? Because you sit before us, a member of the Catholic Church, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure where to start. I mean, it's just, like you said, talking to Sierra, meeting her family. When she went to study abroad, I kind of, gained some interest, rented books from the library, reading more about it.
Started going to Mass with some of my friends.
Yep, that was good. I think I remember that was kind of the tick and the turn. It was that I went to Mass and I saw how beautiful the Mass was. And in the Presbyterian Church, they like to, the one I grew up in, they have this format where you can choose to be very progressive with your worship, and you can also choose to be the same Presbyterian.
You see the signs, the contemporary and traditional service times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I came from one where when I look back at it, it is literally the Mass as Protestant as it can be, where words are changed around, but the format is the exact same, And so then I was like, wow, this is exactly how church should be, because I have a portion of my family who are actually, excuse me, I said that Presbyterian. My mom was Presbyterian, my grandfather was a Presbyterian minister, and I'm the only one in my family who is Presbyterian. Everyone else is Southern Baptist, and then they left their Southern Baptist church where my dad went. It's kind of like a split kind of thing.
Right.
But now they all go to kind of like a pseudo mega church.
Like a non-denom kind of deal.
Yeah. And so, so then I was like, I knew I don't like that. I don't feel like I belong in this kind of environment. This isn't how I worship, kind of thing. And so, but yeah, more research. And then I decided to just, kind of dive in head first and then go through RCIA. And
while she was abroad, or did she come back at this point?
No.
I had been back.
Yeah, you had been back. I had started RCIA the fall of 2021.
Yes. So we had started dating in summer of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
He had done a lot of searching and knew he wanted to become Catholic or go that route, like go through RCIA and figure it all out. And so I think it was fall of 2021 that you actually got into RCIA because of COVID and everything.
Yep. And then I don't know, Father Gregory. That's not his last. No, that's not his last name. Yeah. Father Gregory. I don't know if you'll ever met him. He's super smart. He's one of the priests who came from the Anglican Church, so he has a
the Ordinariate out
Yes,
there.
Ordinariate.
Thank goodness it was a good church that you were involved in over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how, like, you hear about some people who convert to Catholicism and then they show up to churches for the first time and they're one of these awful, like, Pizza Hut looking churches, like an effeminate priest and all this. So dude, the Anglican, the Ordinariate, they got it down.
Yeah, and he's very smart, and I'm the kind of person I was pulled to the church logic based kind of, and that spoke to me, and it just continued to speak to me, and I went through trials with my family like every day.
Oh, really? Got a lot of pushback from mom and dad and siblings?
Less my dad, more my mom, because she was the one that kind of like raised me in the church that her dad was the minister, and I think in any other family who's not very faithful, kind of. It wouldn't really be that big of a deal, but for my family who are, they are very faithful. They church every Sunday, and they're very good at being Christians, I guess you say. Right. They know their Bible, logic and things like that. So I'd come to a different conversation every single day about a different topic.
Yeah.
About the ways Catholicism and it's so hard to say because they're not all Baptists, so I can't say the way the Baptists think or something like that. But yeah, just things on topics like that.
Did you read Rome Sweet Home?
Rome Sweet Home?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you never read Rome Sweet Home?
No.
Such a good book.
Y'all read Rome Sweet Home?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, you've read it. Okay, somebody's read it. Sadie, help me out. It's incredible. It's Scott Hahn. I think he was Presbyterian. Wasn't he a Presbyterian minister?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's his whole conversion story,
Okay.
and it is so awesome.
I read it cover to cover in like 3 days just because it's so engaging.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was our summer reading book one time
uh-huh.
for our book group. It was fun. No, that's cool. That's a beautiful story. I love that. So, do you think that if Sierra had broken your heart and run off, you would have continued down the path?
It just depends on when. I think. I think I felt pushed more to become Catholic when I would talk to my friends. So my roommate in college, he was the one that kind of helped me grow in faith freshman year of college.
Right.
And, I started talking about, Catholicism, this. And while I was talking about Catholicism, he was actually going 5-point Calvinism. So it was like, and the arguments were just crazy. And so we would, want to sit down and always talk about, like, we would give each other, I will be citing this verse, come prepared, and we'll talk about it. And
That's so cool, though.
And
dude.
so it was a lot of argument, kind of like polarized. The true definition of a love-hate relationship with my friend, and but yeah,
He's awesome though.
And Johnny's awesome.
And
best.
Sadie and Aaron, y'all were baptized Catholics?
Yes.
And then sort of strayed from the path a little bit and then came back to it?
Very much so.
And was it an intellectual conversion as well, or what is that?
I think I was more so smacked in the face with my own wretchedness. And
That's a beautiful
realized,
sentence. I really like that. I was smacked in the face with my own wretchedness.
Yeah.
That's a good name for this episode, by the way. Just throwing it out there.
I don't know, and I guess I realized I hated who I was and the path I was going down.
How old were you at this point?
This was after my first year of college, right out of high school, so I must have been...
Did you go to Franciscan?
18, 19. No,
you transferred.
I went to Georgia Southern University.
Oh, yeah. I understand why you hated yourself.
Yeah.
No, you've heard my stories on this. I was going to go to Georgia Southern, right? And I went and I had some big big times out in Statesboro
Yeah.
in high school, and over the summer leading into high school, and then I ended up going to a teeny tiny Catholic college up in the mountains of North Georgia that doesn't exist anymore. But so I totally get what you're saying. So okay, so freshman year of college, you hated yourself.
Yeah.
Smacked in the face with your own wretchedness.
Effectively, yeah. I just kind of realized that everything that I thought was good was not. And it was truly a Holy Spirit moment, just kind of smacking me upside the head. And I didn't really know what path to go down. So I was really like, I was in just a haze of this new revelation that I am completely wrong about everything. Yeah. And so I was frantically searching for what is right and what is good and whatnot. And I would read all these self-help books, and I would like Google how to be a good man and just stuff like that.
The best way to solve all moral questions. How to be a good man.
Yeah. I remember specifically Googling that. And I was actually at my cousin's birthday party, and her brother, my other cousin, this was a couple months into my realization of my own wretchedness. And he had an awesome job pointing lasers at planets to measure how far they were, and I was
that was like his job, what he did for a living?
Yeah.
Cool.
I know,
That's
right?
really cool.
Yeah, and I was like, how'd you get that? And he said, God. And it was the first time I'd ever heard somebody, like, other than my parents, that I was like, that was kind of cool. Yeah. Talk about him as a real active living being as opposed to just some aloof sky being, you know? And it was that the Holy Spirit really used that to kind of spark the fire in my heart. And I started searching, listening to different Protestant things. I didn't really know much of the difference between Protestants and Catholics. And just, I guess it was kind of an intellectual pursuit from that point on. And then I got involved with youth group that my sister was part of leading, and the youth leader, she really knew what she was doing. She was great. I don't shout out to Lisa. Yeah.
What parish?
It was St. Joe's.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And she put me in this position of leadership, which I felt like I was unprepared for, but the Holy Spirit really used that to, because I was in this like kind of fragile place of like, what's going on, and I realized the importance of being in this kind of authoritative spiritual position. So I really took it seriously to really learn to love the Lord and serve the Lord, and it's just a process through that.
And this was all freshman year of
no,
college?
So I actually dropped out. That was part of I realized everything was my fault.
Great, good, yeah.
And it was months. It was maybe a half a year of this process. But then you decided you were going to go to Franciscan University and get your crap together? Was that the... No, so I converted, I had actually been, I'd really kind of turned a new leaf, and I had I'd heard of Franciscan. I thought that was awesome, but I never really wanted to go to Ohio,
It's a great place to meet girls.
Yeah.
Apparently. It's majority girls, isn't it?
Oh, yes. The population is like 65.
And like a third of the dudes are in pre-theology to be priests.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like...
Pickens are good.
Yeah.
But, so COVID happened. And I had already kind of been on the road to conversion for a while at this point. And Franciscan offered the Step in Faith program, where they offered free full-time tuition for all first-time students.
Okay.
And so I took advantage of that. I was like, hey, that's cool. I'm going to go get my free semester.
Yeah.
And went up there, met her, fell in love with her, with the school, with all of my friends, my great brothers there.
But mostly her, more than the school.
Absolutely, yeah. She's the only one I brought back with me.
We were both adamant that we were not going to date at Franciscan. Because we had just had it with relationships. We were like, no, we're not dating.
Okay.
Well, so we both arrived being like, no, I'm not looking. And
before you came.
And then it was like 3 weeks later that we met, and we were like, okay.
Yeah.
And did you move from Canada to Steubenville?
I did. Canada was completely shut down. They shut down my school indefinitely.
Where?
They had no date to open.
What province or state?
Edmonton, Alberta. Okay. So it's 8 hours from Great Falls.
So I was just hanging out with a guy from Alberta like 2 weekends ago. Yeah. He's from Calgary? Is that Alberta? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours away.
Cool. Yeah. And so when everything shut down, you came to the U.S. or you came to Franciscan to finish up?
Yeah, so I had finished my 2-year, my associates in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to go backpacking in Asia for 3 months solo. 4 days.
Solo?
4 days before my trip.
That seems like a horrible
COVID
idea.
happened and like like my parents were like, you could go, you might get trapped. So I canceled it.
Yeah, but like, or just murdered. I'm sorry that I don't mean to mess up your story. Why are you going to solo backpack in Asia?
Like Asia is the most well-traversed backpacking area, and it's the safest for solos because there's so many solo people. I had done like years of research.
All right, I trust you.
So yeah, like, and I'm not one to like drink a lot or
right.
you know, get into trouble. So I was like, I'll be fine. But my trip got canceled. I got my job shut down. I was waitressing. School wasn't going to open back up. There was like nothing happening in Canada. Like, as I don't know how much it was shut down here, but it was shut down for like a solid 10 months.
Wow.
Solidly. Life just stopped. So I just kind of fell into depression. I was like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. My mom was like, you got to get out. You just got to leave. You got to go, and you're going to Ohio. And my mom.
Go mom.
She's from Ohio, and she actually never told me, but Franciscan was her dream school. And she got married at 18. She stayed in Edmonton, so she never got to go. But she was like Franciscan. And so I was like, okay.
And you never even heard of it before?
Nope.
Wow.
Just put my admissions in and packed up and left.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's really wild.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you said, but you were also sort of had a kind of reversion, you said, going into...
Yeah, I mean, I was cradle Catholic.
Sorry, Sierra, you don't have a cool conversion story.
No.
So good job. No. Good job being great all the time. Anyway, Sadie.
So I was a cradle Catholic. My mom is very, very strong in her faith, and I knew what we believed, and I believed it.
So was your dad.
So was my dad. And, you know, we had great practice life, but when I was 16, I had a brain injury, and this was before concussions got diagnosed, before they knew what to do. So, I mean, I went through like 9 months of like every doctor being like, yeah, you're fine, keep playing sports.
Right.
I never got exempted from school. Like my grades dropped to like 60s from 90s. It was honestly a horrible time of my life. I had so much pain, but no one thought anything was wrong with me.
Right.
And so I pretty much had like ruined all my relationships at my school with my teachers because they all thought I was lazy and I was struggling. So I asked to switch to a new school, and I went blind for about an hour in my first day of school at a new school. Yep. And it honestly was like it was God-given that I went blind because that's what diagnosed me, and that's what got me to stop playing sports. That's what got me to slow down, see a neurologist. So,
oh my goodness.
it was a very heavy time, but basically during that time, I just felt so lost and alone, and was just kind of mad at God that like no one was helping me, and I didn't know what was wrong. So I kind of just stepped away. I was really angry with God, and then, but it was funny because I still kept going to church. I still was going to confession every couple of months. I just was like mad, and I just kind of had stopped praying, but I was still in the motion of everything. And then when COVID happened, I started reading again. I read, I think it's called Left to Tell, and it's about the is it Rwanda genocide?
Yeah.
I don't know what made me pick that book up. But through like everything I had gone through, I picked that book up, and I'm reading the most horrid story of what this girl had gone through, and she did not lose her faith. And it like broke me, and I was like, okay, I need to start searching again. So I just kept reading, and then when I went to Franciscan, that's when it really just like jolted everything. I was going to adoration.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So.
Big shout out to Franciscan. I feel like they get a lot of shout outs on the show, but it really is an incredible place.
It really is. And I think just being surrounded with people your age who are pursuing their faith instead of parents telling you, it makes all the difference.
And
in the world.
that's actually a good launch point, because what I'd love to spend the rest of the show talking about is the distinctions between how y'all, the four of you guys, dated and like moved towards marriage, and now you're married, right? And you're going to be there next April, right? And how the rest of the world does it, because I think that or the rest of, I guess, the West at least. I don't think that it's controversial for me to say that everyone seems to be miserable, and everyone seems to be like lost and saying like nothing's working, and either I can't find love, or I just keep having my heart broken, or I feel like I'm being used, or I feel like I'm using other. Everybody feels like you before they got their smack of what was the word? What's the terminology?
Smack
in the face with your own wretchedness. Yeah. We're all wallowing in our own wretchedness, it feels like. And I have a very similar story, right? About 15 years removed from these. And I just want to know, like, what that... I don't know. Like, did you see major distinctions between the way that your relationship and your relationships, right? How those relationships went compared to the outside world? Did you get a lot of pushback? How did you handle that? I know that none of us are perfect, and we don't have to go into temptations and struggles if you're not comfortable doing that. But I just want to know what that journey, that relationship journey, looked like for you guys, and how it was different, and your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I did not expect to get so many opinions about that. Like, I just thought...
About what?
About saving yourself for marriage is the biggest thing, which I think that encompasses a lot. Like, I think that does lead to a lot of, totally, not that we're perfect, but like selflessness, yes, and like, you know, dying to yourself and everything. And I expected, especially also like going to UGA, which is a bigger party school, it's huge. I wouldn't say that is common at all. Right. And I also thought, though, that, you know, I'm going to go into it, you know, I'm just, you know, Peter and I, we're waiting for marriage. We're putting God at the center of our relationship, or trying our best to, and no one's going to have an opinion about that. Right. But it's wild how many people do have
It's not opinions. Weird to me that they had opinions. It's weird to me that a lot of people shared their opinions, yes, with you.
Yes.
Can you talk to that a little bit? Because that is weird.
Yeah. So I do think a lot of, some of, like, the roommates that I live with, they are some of my best friends, and they're wonderful. They're Christians. They're great.
Sure. Now that you said all that.
Yeah. they were definitely surprised. Like, when Peter, maybe we would all have a bunch of friends over, Peter would sleep on the couch. Yeah. And they were like, oh, why is Peter on the couch?
As opposed to in your room?
Going on? Yeah, exactly. And so that kind of sparked some interest. Everyone was very respectful. But it's interesting, like, when you're preparing to be married, that is really when things spark, like, the comments. Because normally, like, when you're dating, it's like, oh, okay, like, they're waiting for marriage, but so many people doubted that we were actually doing it. Right. We're like, well, we are, but we don't have to prove that. Right. And then when we were getting married, there were some people that made comments about, like, oh, like, you know, how do you know you'll be compatible? Which is it's like, why do you have an opinion about my
It's not even like one person, it's like several.
Multiple people. Yeah. Just having opinions about that was very surprising to me.
Ooh, I
know it is.
Right. Hey, maybe I could just not talk about my sex life.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be a fun thing you could do. Person I don't know that well.
I was like,
every time my mom finds out that we're having another kid, and she like tells her friends or whatever, they'll always say things like, "Is that going to be the last kid?" Like what? And my mom has started this. My mother's like in her 70s, and her response has become, "They don't share anything with me about their sex lives." So
love
we're
that.
not.
That's amazing.
I'm sorry for derailing your story.
Yes. No, that's basically that was one of the biggest things that surprised me about it. Is like, I also think that it's both people in the relationship really have to be committed to it.
I'm on that all the time, because we have all these guys who will say, yeah, I'm willing. Yeah, of course I'm willing. I'm going to respect your decision.
Exactly.
Right. And what that actually means, because I've been one of those guys before, right, is, I'm not going to like push anything on you, but women feel temptation too. And eventually your guard's going to be down one day, and then I'm going to move in. Right. And that's awful. You have to have both and.
You both have to be in it for like yourself in a non-selfish way.
Yes.
Like you have to both be like this. I'm making this decision for myself. I'm not doing this for anybody else.
Right.
Or I almost want to say impossible to do it without both parties being.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, temptation is definitely easier when both parties are committed fully. I mean, if you go through, I know for like myself, if I went through spouts where I was, not as involved in my faith, or my search, I guess you'd say, pretty much the whole time, it was harder, to control myself, I guess you'd say, and then protect her, her soul and my own, obviously, because I wasn't, pouring myself completely into it, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, and I think even like sexuality aside, there's just so many lies about relationships that are promulgated in the 21st century that ultimately boil down, just going off what you just said, to selfishness, right? To this whole idea of like, I gotta look out for number one, and I gotta make sure that this person is like compatible with me in all these ways that really just go to like my own self-aggrandizement. And it's so antithetical to what like preparing for the possibility of a sacramental bond is, right? I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so our experience was that we came from a secular place and then to Franciscan, and I hadn't really had much of a relationship. She's my first real relationship, honestly.
I've never dated a Catholic guy.
Right.
Or a guy of any faith.
Right.
So I had just been met with like awful guy after awful guy, and then I was kind of like, well, maybe there's something to Mom saying to date a Catholic. Yeah. So that's what I started. I think when I was like, I'm done dating, I was like, I'm not going to date a guy unless he has good morals. Like, that's just where it starts.
Sure.
So I feel like as soon as I met Aaron, it was like instant. It was the first guy that I was like, that's him.
Did y'all also have like all those moral discussions early on? Like hey, dating's for marriage. Hey, like I believe in these basic moral tenets of...
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we did. We were also mostly in agreement, we were in agreement with them. But coming from a secular place to a non-secular place is really hard. It's difficult. There's still a lot of wounds that, we love to, in our concupiscence, open up again,
I feel like we were right there with all of the morals and what we believed, but we had a very difficult time learning how to communicate that to each other respectfully at the beginning.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it was just like butting heads all the time, and then it was like after we broke up, we were like, we actually don't have to be like against each other. Like we're a team,
Another thing. So we came from unhealthy in secular to at Franciscan. Believe it or not, there's also a lot of unhealthy relationships.
Oh, totally.
It's just kind of this. Yeah. It's a weird dating culture there, and so it was kind of trying to find the right balance between. Whatever, I don't even know a word to put on the weird Franciscan dating thing, and our secular thing. So I don't know where I was going with that tangent.
No, we're gonna be finishing up soon because an hour flies by pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have been married for how many months?
Since March. So March.
4.
June, July. August.
4 months?
Yeah, about.
Do you have any like big picture takeaways for our friends over here who are going to be married in 6 months or something?
Yeah.
7 months?
I know we're still so new, but honestly, it's so much fun. Like it's so great.
Fun.
Like so many people tell you scary things. I'm like, marriage is great.
Do y'all have y'all's honeymoon planned out?
Not yet. We had tentative plans, but those kind of dissolved.
Might not be warm enough in Greece or Portugal.
So. Okay.
Oh, that would have been beautiful.
One thing is, I will say, since y'all haven't planned it yet, do all inclusive.
That's what I'm saying.
We did all inclusive Sandals
So
Jamaica,
nice.
and I remember so we had paid for the wedding, obviously,
Right.
and then in the moment, that was my second piece of advice is since you already paid for it, you can spend a little more money on the things that you want. Like I remember we had 2 cigars at my wedding, but because I love smoking cigars, but I wish I had just bought like 10,
Yeah.
but because I spent $20 in Jamaica.
Right. That's wild.
So
Wow.
I should have just done that. That was my only piece of advice: is do all inclusive.
I agree. We went to Belize, and it was one of those where everything was already set, and then you felt rich because you got there, and all that money was already spent. So your bank account was
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and then the wedding gifts, gift hits, and then you're like, wow.
Yeah. That's really cool. I will say, not to bring everything back to sexuality, and you guys can probably back me up on this one. In terms of like physical like temptations, It gets so much worse the closer you get to being married. I remember with my wife and I, it was like, okay, so I'm not going to visit. Like, we're going to only go in public because it's one of those, hey man, we're going to be married in 2 weeks. Like, nobody would even know. What if you got pregnant? Right? And we had to have all of our, there's like rules we put in place got so much stricter. There's like, our feet always have to stay on the ground. There's no like leaning back on the couch. Nope. But no, it's so great. It's so beautiful. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Ben, do you have any advice for them? They're about to be married.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I definitely know my
Ben's
way.
never been married. His parents are, so that's great. Yeah.
They have a good marriage.
All right, and we might as well. You want to do? We did cards.
Let's do cards.
Yeah.
It was a fun group.
Yeah, y'all are fun. So this is Loaded Questions Junior. Card made for elementary school kids card game. Pick one question, whichever one you want, and answer it however you want to. It's going to be great.
Yep.
And I'm going to start this time. Okay, I don't like these, right? Where they're like, where would you hate to be alone? Like, that's such a... I guess they're supposed to be like
space.
Practically speaking, but like the real answer is like, I don't know, like an air bubble at the bottom of the ocean in that submarine that sank not too long ago. Practically speaking, where would I hate to be alone? I'm married. I have 4 children, and when my wife and my kids go out of town, I have so much fun for about 12 hours, and then I am miserable and I am lonely. Like the first time, like. If she leaves in the morning, it's hard maybe once a year to drive up to Maryland where her parents live, and they're doing like a week up there while I'm working that week or something. And that day I wake up and I like get all this stuff done. I'm like out in the woods, I'm fishing all day, I'm like doing whatever I want. And then as soon as it gets to be nighttime, I am lonely and miserable, and I just want to like pray a terrible rosary with my kids while they're screaming and fighting with each other. And then like for the rest of the time she's gone, I'm miserable. So that's when I hate to be alone. I hate to be alone in my own home when my kids are gone and they're not coming back for a while. There you go. All right. What you got, Aaron?
What would you love to have the chance to do? Wingsuit.
Ooh,
nice.
A wingsuit.
Love to do that.
It's like a flying squirrel.
Yeah, like connects your ankles to your wrists and you from an airplane. Yeah, cool. And or a base jump. Yeah,
maybe we'll do that on the honeymoon.
Yeah, that'd be great. Funnily enough, the next question is, what is the worst injury you've had? So.
All wingsuit related. I like it. All right, Sadie, what you got?
I do not like any of these.
Well, nobody cares.
Well, you gotta pick one.
I'm sorry.
Mine are bogus.
Where would I have a school field trip?
Yeah, school field trip. You can go anywhere you want.
Asia.
Alone. An alone school field trip, backpacking through. Your life was saved by COVID. Sadie. I'm sorry. I'm sure it would have been great. All right, Sierra.
Mine are pretty bad too. What frightens you? Honestly, just thinking about how deep the ocean is freaks me out, and I don't like thinking about it.
I'm going to allow that one, but here's what I always say, because that's one of my go-to questions with like random kids in the hallway. I work at a school. I'm like an assistant principal kind of deal at a school. And I'll be like, well, hey, how you doing? What's your deepest fear? Right? Or just like, and every time somebody says like spiders, I'm like, no, it's not. That's not your deepest fear. Is that you're never going to be good enough. You're going to die alone, and nobody's ever really loved you. That's your deepest fear. Don't tell me snakes. You take all the snakes over that. So
they're bringing you up in
I
therapy.
guess I'll go with your like the ocean's really
Yeah.
all right, that's fine. So I'm being mean here at the end. These are great answers. You're all doing a wonderful job. Peter, what you got?
All my prompts are bogus too, but the one I chose out of them is what is your favorite dessert, and that's probably going to be my mom's brownies.
No, so you actually misread the question. You have to take one of the S's out. What's your favorite desert?
Oh,
Gotta pick one desert.
Antarctica.
That's good. That's good. That's
Cool.
okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Mine is what music makes you want to dance. And I used to be that guy that would like all like the default dance songs at weddings and like proms and stuff.
Right.
I would be like, no, I don't like any of these songs. Dancing at these events is stupid. But like that's dumb.
Yeah, that is
because
dumb.
there's a reason that these songs are played at like every wedding because they're a lot of fun to dance
They're a lot
to.
of fun.
So that kind of music.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
That and jazz. I like jazz.
Do you like jazz?
I love jazz.
I don't like jazz.
Movie.
I'm not even sure that I believe anybody really likes jazz, actually. But that's okay.
My favorite movie is La La Land.
That's fair. Okay, I get it. Ben likes jazz. All right, guys. This has been so much fun. I think we've gone over a little bit, but I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here, guys. This has been a lot of fun. Ben, it is always a pleasure, man.
Always a pleasure, John Henry.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Let's try it. All right. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been Honest to God on AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. Producer Ben,
signing off.
Over and out.